tonight's coverage of the BTDY Racing League Chase for the BTDY Cup. There's no place like home here at the Kansas Speedway for race 1. Colorado stays bottom, slides up into 1. He comes back up the track and he gets clobbered. Here comes Loveland to the inside. Jeff Wright will come home and he'll win the race and win the winner of the playoffs at the Kansas Speedway.
With Jonathan Parker, he locks it up in the end of stage 1. Jonathan Parker, our season 5 champion. Bryce Shoemaker is going to take the victory, 128 laps without a pit stop.
Donnie Kite's gonna get through it all and score his first career win. Saturday Night Racing League and throwback at Charlotte goes to Josh Adams.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to race number 20, the season finale of the FloridaSkinDoctor.com BTDY Racing Series. Tonight, our drivers are headed to Homestead, Miami Speedway for a little championship racing, where Bailey Turner and Brody Hays both look to finish out their heavyweight championship battle by bringing home that title here this evening. It's been quite a great season with a lot of fantastic racing. Tonight, we'll put a cap on it by crowning that champion. We're going to be bringing you all the action live here on VSPEED. Thank you for tuning in and spending your Tuesday evening with us. My name's Daniel Cunningham, up here alongside me in the booth and also running the production truck. I don't know how he's two places at one time, but he's doing it. Lucas Lyons, and we've got those camera angles courtesy of Dougie Beard. Lucas, you and I have been on this broadcast for quite a few weeks now. We've seen a lot of great racing in this series. We've been on the call for a lot of great racing. What are you thinking? How are you feeling heading into this championship race tonight?
Well, Daniel, it's nice to be here, and I'm glad that Adam allowed both me and you to cover this amazing series of BTDY for this season. But racing-wise, it's like you said, we've had a lot of great racing. I don't expect it to change here tonight. We had a little bit of tensions between Bailey Turner and Brody Hays last week, with contact between them leading to Brody Hays having some suspension damage and start to fall back throughout the field. And we had great races. We had a green-white checkered at Iowa and Richmond that turned out to be stellar races. And then I did one race before you came on, Daniel, at Auto Club, and that was a great race also. So a bunch of great races throughout the season here in BTDY, and I'm expecting another good one here at Homestead Miami Speedway.
Yeah, it's definitely been a pleasure to be on the call for this season of BTDY. I think one of my favorite moments was actually when you decided to ditch the broadcast booth to go race at Watkins Glen, and you immediately put it in the cat litter on the first stint. So, just had to remind you of that. That was another great moment that we saw here. But, you talked about that championship battle. Let's go ahead and take a look at our points as we head into this season finale. Bailey Turner and Brody Hays, you see them up there at the top, separated by just 10 points heading into this race. Chris Samard in third, Eric Hutton, Keith Mayato rounding out your top 5. Michael Robinson, Jake Mockey, Jeremiah Hobbs, Ryan Phillips, Levi Cox, Noah Mahalski, and Jace Cully, your chase drivers. Only 2 drivers really mathematically still in this with the field size that we have tonight. And that's going to be Bailey Turner and Brody Hays. Bailey Turner, to clinch the championship this evening, based on the math that I did earlier, needs to finish 6th, no matter what Brody Hays does. If he goes out, leads the most laps, starts on pole, does everything that he can do, Bailey Turner rather, would just need to finish 6th to win this championship. And also, you see Dennis Faircloth there in 13th, his name highlighted as the best of the rest driver. He's pretty well got that locked up for this season with 25 points over Cody Atkins. So Dennis Faircloth will actually be getting a free entry into this series for next season, one of the mainstays here in BTDY. So cool to see him bring that home as well.
Yeah, it's really cool that BTDY is able to do stuff like that. And it's like you said, Daniel, the only 2 drivers being mathematical at the championship is Bailey Turner and Brody Hays. And I like to bring it up a lot. There's a lot of tension between them, and I don't expect that to change here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you'll have that sometimes when you've got 2 guys that just always seem to find their way to the front, and especially with this championship battle that we're looking at here. But, let's also take a quick look at our track map, the race details of what we're going to be looking at here this evening. Homestead Miami Speedway, really, you couldn't pick a better place for a championship battle. You can see they're located down there in the Homestead, Florida area. 1.5 mile racetrack, 18 degrees of banking in the turns, but it does have that progressive banking, something if you watch a whole lot of NASCAR in real life, you see the drivers migrate up to the wall because there's slightly more banking at the top of the track than there is at the bottom. So you carry a lot more speed by doing that. And, also this will kind of roll into our race details as well. Let's take a look at those here. 150 laps. Comp caution at lap 20, 45-mile-an-hour pit road speed, 5 sets of tires, 3 green-white checker attempts. Fuel run should be right around 38 to 42 laps, and not up on the graphic, but still running those custom setups tweaked from the iRacing setup here in this series. Cody Atkins puts a lot of work into getting those done. It's led to a lot of the great racing that we've seen here this season. And I think from what we've seen in practice, it seems like that top groove is definitely the fastest way around. And it seems like we're going to see drivers migrate up there as opposed to, just running the bottom like we see with the iRacing setups a lot of times.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that statement with the drivers running up to the top. And another thing I did notice in practice as well is the drivers really can't get away from one another. Also, a bunch of packs was forming in practice, and no one driver really had an advantage no matter where they went, though. So should be a really good race here tonight. As Daniel, I think drivers are just about done with qualifying.
Yeah, looks like we are indeed wrapping up qualifying here, and we're going to go ahead and bring you your starting grid for the season finale, the FloridaSkinDoctor.com 225 here at Homestead Miami Speedway. And starting on pole this evening, doing exactly what he needs to do to put himself in the best position possible to try to take this championship away, Brody Hays starting in P1 at 32.825 lap time with Ryan Gimmel to his outside in second. Bailey Turner, though, second one of our championship drivers, also trying to do what he needs to do. He's starting in third this evening. And even though he may not mathematically have a shot at it, Chris Samard starting in fourth, currently in third place in the championship. Rolling off in fifth is going to be Keith Mayato with Ray Massey starting in sixth here this evening. Starting in the seventh position is going to be Dallas Sullivan. Really solid qualifying effort for him. And James Loveland starting in the eighth position here this evening. Rounding out your top 10, it's going to be the 83 of Dennis Faircloth and the 88 of Eric Hutton.
Starting right outside of the top 10, we have the 55 of Cody Atkins. And in the 12th position, the 25 of Paul Hahn. Starting in the 13th position, you have the 80 of Rob Liedl, and probably my favorite paint scheme of the night. You'll see it when he gets onto the track. The 13 of Jake Maki running a Mankey paint scheme tonight. In the 15th position, we have the 27 of Ryan Phillips, and in the 16th, we have the 15 of Christian Blackwell. Deciding not to take a time in the 17th position, the 31 of Jeremiah Hobbs is starting to his outside. In 18th, the 29 of Michael Robinson. Rounding out our field here tonight, the 5 of Alan Dice and the 91 of Zach Smith, rounding out our 20-car field here.
There you have it for the starting grid. Yeah, we talked about it. All Brody Hays needs to do is go out, win the race, lead the most laps, start on pole to have a shot at winning the championship. And he has checked the first box with starting on pole here this evening. Bailey Turner starting right behind him. If he finishes in 6th or better, he wins the championship no matter what. And that's not accounting for laps led, most laps led, anything of that nature. So we've got a good championship battle. We've got a great race that is shaping up here for 150 laps in the season finale here this evening. And what a great season it's been. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on this broadcast, but we've still got one more to get through to go ahead and crown this season's champion. Pace car is off onto the pit lane. You see Barney's got the green flag in hand. We are officially championship racing for the season finale here at Homestead. And already as they exit turn number 2, you can see Brody Hays taking the early lead here in that number 1 position. Ryan Gemmel able to hold serve on that restart in 2nd, Bailey Turner in 3rd. But from there on back, you can see these cars spread out all over the racetrack, just trying to find clean air, trying to find some grip, make some passes while you've got everybody bunched up. But, you know, I said that I thought that high line would be the way to go. But here early on, a lot of drivers sticking to that bottom. Have to see how that changes as the run progresses.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see these drivers run the bottom, probably saving tires, but we've seen it all season. These drivers like to take it really, really hard and aggressive in the first stage. So you would kind of start to think that they want to run the top so they can try to see what the tire wear is late in the run. But as you see it now, drivers starting to get single filed out running that bottom lane, and Eric Hutton being the first driver to run that top lane.
Yeah, and you can see actually the 24 of Bailey Turner getting a little bit loose there on the exit of turn number 2, but able to carry some momentum. Looking to the inside of Ryan Gemmel, trying to take that number 2 position away. You can see Keith Mayato there right behind, trying to find his way through as well. But really, I mean, you can see all these cars are really close together, and now Ryan Gemmel going to move up to the high side and see if he can maybe challenge Brody Hays for the lead.
Yeah, VSPEED teammates right now battling for the lead, with Bailey Turner not too far behind Ryan Gemmel, and then Brody Hays' other 2 teammates of Keith Mayato and Chris Samard not too far behind of Bailey Turner, and James Loveland, his last teammate, is riding in the 7th position right now. So a bunch of VSPEED guys up front, as now Bailey Turner slots in line and Ryan Gemmel still decides to run that top lane.
Yeah, there's currently 4 VSPEED drivers in the top 5, and then there's Bailey Turner. So just to give you an idea, some contact down the back straightaway. That was Cody Atkins and Eric Hutton that were door banging. Both drivers able to hold on to it, just kind of caught the tail end of it there. Let's see if we can actually go back and take a quick look at that, what exactly happened between those 2 drivers. Let's cue up the VSPEED instant replay, and This is coming into turns 1 and 2 where the contact took place, and right there you get a good idea of just the different line choices that you have here. Cody running down a little bit lower than you would expect for the middle group, but try to give room to Faircloth. And yeah, I chalk that up as just one of those racing deals that you get here at Homestead with the differences in grooves. You know, you don't think there's somebody to your outside, or your spotter may even call that you're only 2 wide, but the next thing you know, it's 3 wide just with the momentum that top groove can carry.
Yeah, with the momentum of that top groove, like you said, Daniel, and how staggered of a 3 wide situation there were, I can't blame either driver. It's just something we have to look out for to keep green racing throughout the field here tonight, as we are 3 wide for P2 between Keith Mahato, Bailey Turner, and Ryan Gimmel, as Rob Lidl gets loose out of turn 4 a little bit further back. Now settled back to 2 wide between Bailey Turner and Chris Samard now. And, man, they're driving all over the track here tonight trying to find speed.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said this place is really the best choice that you can have as far as a championship race, and especially with the work that Cody does with these setups, trying to make them drive better, trying to put on better racing. You give these drivers, as talented as they are, the ability to search around, look for grip, use different lines, and it's just going to put on exactly what we're seeing now. As you can see, Bailey Turner migrating up to that Larson line up there right around the wall, or at least as close to the Larson line as you could get on iRacing. Meanwhile, you've got other guys that are just wrapping that bottom line. But so far, it does seem like you've got to either go one extreme or the other, as we've got a battle for the lead here between Hays and Turner. Turner not content to just ride in second. He wants to go for the lead here, but not able to carry the momentum as of right now. But yeah, it just seems like you've either got to go one extreme or the other. You got to run that top groove, or you got to wrap the bottom. It seems like if you're in that middle groove where you see Bailey Turner kind of running right there, there's just not a lot of speed in it.
Yeah, you saw it last lap with Bailey Turner. He ran that Larson line, like you were saying, Daniel, and used the speed that he got off the corner to shoot to Brody Hays to the inside to try to make that pass going into turn 3. And I actually ran a truck race here last night, and granted, it went into being a night race, as now Bailey Turner's looking back to the inside of Brody Hays. Brody Hays might just relinquish spot. No, he's actually hanging on his right rear quarter panel, trying to slide draft him back so he can get that run back coming out of turn 2. And let's see if Brody Hays decides to make a move here going to turn 3.
Yeah, Brody Hays was doing everything he could to try to keep that lead. Bailey Turner electing to go back to the top side. Think he knows that he could carry the momentum off of exit, but it looked like he maybe touched the wall just a little bit there. Brody Hays able to clear back for the lead, but this battle is just not going to go away between our top 2 in the championship. Turner back to the bottom. See if he puts a slider on Hays here as they come out of turns 1 and 2.
And he comes up when he is clear, and Brody Hays decides to take that bottom lane to get a good run into 3 and 4. Right now, Brody Hays Bailey Turner is side drafting Brody Hays to get that run back. Let's be careful on exit not to get loose and into each other, and still side by side coming out of turn 4. Daniel, this is not what Brody Hays needs if he's going to win the championship here tonight with Bailey Turner literally breathing down his neck ever since the green flag dropped here this evening.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about it, if you're Bailey Turner, I mean, you could sit here and ride in second and say, hey, I'm in a spot where we could finish just like this, and it doesn't matter what you do, I'm coming home with the hardware. But he's not content to do that. You can tell he wants to get up here, lead a lap, get the bonus point for that lap lead, which it looks like at the line, man, it was really close. I don't know if Turner got it that time by, but he knows that 1 point is just another point that if he now he can finish 7th instead of 6th. He doesn't have to worry about, not getting that extra position. And you just never know how things are going to play out. You never know if a caution falls at the wrong time in a pit cycle where you have to work your way back up through the pack. I mean, we can sit here and look at this and say he's easily got top 5 speed right now, so 6th place shouldn't be a difficult ask for him. but you just never know if you're going to get buried back in traffic or when that 1 point might be valuable to come into play.
Yeah, it's every point matters here. Like, if Bailey Turner gets in trouble and he has to go down pit road and get some damage fixed, and he falls into the pack and has to drive back through this field, that 1 point from leading lap can definitely help him because he won't have to drive as far up through the field to still win that championship. So every point matters, especially here tonight with it being the final race, and whoever comes out on top is going to be the champion of this season in BTDY.
And that was a really aggressive move by Bailey Turner there to get back up to that top groove. I think he knew with where we're getting to on tires that you really need that momentum of running that higher groove. And you can see he cut right up in front of the 36 of Keith Mayato on the front straightaway, just trying to slot back into line. But now thought he was going to get stuck on the bottom yet again, but able to find his way back up there. This yellow flag is actually out on the racetrack. That is going to count as our competition caution. That was the 31 of Jeremiah Hobbs that actually went for a spin on the front straightaway. Let's go back and take a look on the VSPEED instant replay here. See, just kind of running that middle groove that we had talked about. It just seems like there's not a ton of grip there. And then as he comes up the track, you can see the second that his right side tires hit that seam, it looked like he lost all grip, and that's where the car actually started to come around on.
Yeah, these seams are really slick here at Homestead. Experienced it a few times last night, and his right side tires hit the seam, and just nothing he can really do. Making slight contact with that inside wall. Nothing too major. I still think he has a chance here tonight, but definitely not tonight. That Jeremiah Hobbs was wanting to start off with a self-spin out of turn 4, lap 17 of the race.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes this track so challenging is that, you talked about it, you've experienced it last night with your truck race that you ran. It's just when you cross over those seams, there's just no grip to it. It's just, whether you're on the bottom drifting up on exit or you're in that middle groove drifting up, you're fine if you kind of cross over it quick, but if you ride on it for just a second like we saw the 31 do there, it's just easy for the car to snap around. But that is going to open our first round of pit stops here on the evening. And man, it looked like somebody almost ate the tire barrels back there at the end of pit road. I think that was the 91 of Zach Smith, actually. But crisis averted. Nobody is going to pull a Kyle Larson there and hit the pit barrels, at least this time by.
Yeah, it's really easy to do when you're coming out pit road. You have that car blocking your line of sight, and it comes up pretty quick. And luckily for Zach, not making any sort of contact, had to do a split-second maneuver to be able to not hit it. But coming off pit road, Brody Hays gets the lead and is going to be our leader coming to this restart.
Yeah, Brody Hays first off of pit road. Bailey Turner actually gets off of pit road in second, with Keith Mayato, Chris Samard, Ray Massey, your top 5, followed by Dallas Sullivan, Eric Hutton, Ryan Phillips, Dennis Faircloth, and James Loveland rounding out your top 10. And, Lucas, a driver that we got to touch on real quick is this driver that is in the 13 car, running in 13th. You talked about it at the beginning when you were going through the grid. Jake Mackey running a special paint scheme here this evening that he is doing just for myself and Lucas up here in the broadcast booth. The first race that Lucas and I called this season together, Lucas did Auto Club, but the first race that he and I were both together was at Richmond earlier this season. And when we were going through the grid, saying where your favorite drivers were starting, our very own Lucas Lyons up here decided that Jake Mackey's last name was actually Mankey. Just like the Pokemon that you see on his car. And it's kind of been a running joke throughout a couple of Discords here after that we call him Mankey, and we specifically requested a Mankey scheme from him for this last race. So Jake having a little bit of fun with it, and it's funny to see that scheme out there. You got to have a little bit of fun while you're out here.
Yeah, and a little bit about that scheme there, Daniel. It's actually based on the Mankey Pokemon card from the set Team Up expansion that released in 2019 with card number 69 out of 181.
Well, I learned something today because I didn't know that it was based off of all of that, and I don't know what to do with that knowledge now that I have it. But one thing that I do know is that we're getting ready to go back green flag racing here in this championship race. Going to take the green on lap number 21 of 150. Your top two drivers in the championship on that front row. Brody Hays gets out to another good lead here. Bailey Turner up on the top side trying to avoid the VSPEED freight train there on the bottom and keep that number 2 position, running that top groove and making it work with a lot of momentum off of 2.
Yeah, the VSPEED guys on the bottom got a really good start, but that top line just proves to be dominant on these restarts with Bailey Turner able to still hold the second position over Keith Mayato. But Chris Samard is right behind Bailey Turner as of right now, as Dennis Faircloth is also working through the field a little bit further back.
Yeah, and so far, Bailey Turner, the first one to really go up to that high groove. You can see Dallas Sullivan a few cars back also trying to make it work. But just kind of like what we see in real life, the first few laps on these fresh tires, it really seems like that bottom groove, you can make it work. But as we saw right before that comp caution came out, you know, you definitely got to migrate up to the top. And so far, it seems like Bailey Turner has been the best at that. He's really found something up there. He's getting a little bit better momentum than what we've seen out of some of the other drivers, and really just more consistent running that top groove than what we've seen with others going up and trying it.
Yeah, looking at practice, Bailey Turner was definitely the most consistent running either line. So we're going to have to wait and see how the long run decides to play out between both Brody Hays and Bailey Turner for this championship. But a little bit further back, since we started to single file out here for the first few positions, it's side by side exactly what we saw in that first little run that we had before our competition caution, with Dennis Faircloth running the bottom, getting past about the 27 of Ryan Phillips, but behind him, the 02 of James Loveland and Alan Dye still duking it out.
Yeah, this is back here in the Hornets' nest between these drivers. They are absolutely going at it for these positions and really emphasizing just the different lines that you can run. That's the 15 Christian Blackwell that is around right behind this battle for position that we were just looking at. So that is going to stack the field back up here. Take a quick look on the VSPEED instant replay. Blackwell running right behind Jake Maki there. See another driver kind of running that center groove, and actually that car started to step out on him before he even got to the seam on that one. But, I mean, did a really nice job keeping it off the wall, and a really nice job of the others behind him to not plow into him there with just, you got a car broadside in the middle of the track in front of you like that. It's really easy to just make some contact, but good job by everybody avoiding this one.
Yeah, it's like you said, great job from both Christian Blackwell for not hitting the inside wall or the outside wall trying to save it, and great job from Jeremiah Hobbs, Zach Smith, and the 25 of Paul Hahn not running into him. So great job by these drivers to avoid that wreck.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see there, pace car has got the field in tow yet again. Our top two in the championship battle running in first and second here this evening. And even got number 3 in the championship battle that is riding there in the 4th position. So, you see it all the time in real life NASCAR where people think that the cars are cheated up or, whatever the case is when you get to these championship races, because they're always like your championship 4 are always running right up there at the top. But here we are on iRacing where I would have to assume nobody has any cheats loaded up, and everybody in the top 3 in the championship is running in the top 4 in the race right now. And really, even with Keith Mayato, I mean, he was a couple of missed races away from being up there in this championship battle as well.
Yeah, it's just these four drivers have really been towards the front of the field no matter what track we went to throughout this whole season. So it's really no surprise that we see these four drivers take the top four spots of this race. But yeah, I don't know. I lost my
Yeah,
thought,
and
Daniel.
just that's all right. I kind of expect that at least once or twice a race out of you. But just a quick keep a house. Oh, God, now I can't even talk in a straight sentence. Thanks, Lucas. You are a bad influence on me. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping to go over here. We did have a couple of drivers come down pit road, top off with fuel on this caution. That is Jake Bakke, Jeremiah Hobbs, Rob Liedl, Paul Hahn, and Zach Smith. So they are currently running in 15th through 19th place, electing to come down here, top off, just in case we do get a long green flag run that they could try to stretch it out a little bit farther.
Yeah, it's like what we said at the beginning of the show. A fuel run is about 38 to 42 laps here this evening. So not too sure how the math would play out if it was to go green from here on out. But just to have a few extra laps of fuel and fresher tires when these drivers are forced to come down to take more fuel for the drivers that stayed out, it can still be pretty beneficial for the drivers that just came down pit road.
Yeah, and really this would put him in a position with, just under 120 laps to go, that those that came down and did top off with fuel, if it ran green to the end, they could 100% make it on just two more stops at this point. Whereas those guys that did not come down pit road and haven't been on since the comp caution, they probably still can, but it's going to be a lot tighter for them. But still a long way to go. I like the forward thinking. I'm always a fan of just trying something with pitch strategy. Sometimes you throw something up against the wall, see what sticks, and it might actually work for you. But we're getting ready to go back green here yet again at Homestead. Our championship drivers up there on the front row. Green flag is in the air. It's going to be another good jump for Brody Hays here. He clears to the lead. We'll see if Bailey Turner can hang on to number 2 spot here.
As of right now, he's fallen a little bit back, but right now he has the momentum on Keith Mayato running that top lane. It's going to be side by side coming out of turn 2 with Bailey Turner having the run. It's going to clear in front of Keith Mayato, so put Bailey Turner back into the second position, as now Keith is going to go up to that Larson line a little bit late and try to get that run back on Bailey Turner and his teammate in the 77 of Chris Amard looking back to his inside. Now going to go back to the top lane and start the single file back out here for the first few positions.
Yeah, and it looked like that might have just been a case of try to go where nobody else is at for Keith Mayato there in the 36. But it does look like he was starting to make that top groove work just a little bit. Really the first time we've seen him up there in that upper groove this early in a run. But as you can see right there, top 5 drivers all under a blanket. Really the top 6 all just kind of wrapping the bottom, staying patient right now. A little bit further back, you can see a battle for position here for the last spot in the top 10, actually, between Ryan Gemmel, Alan Dice, and you could also throw Ryan Phillips in with that battle as well at night.
Yeah, the battle in the back has been the same all night long. It's now Bailey Turner is going to look to the inside of Brody Hays, and Brody Hays is going to shut the door on him. And Bailey Turner is going to lift out a little bit as Keith Mayato gets a little bit loose out of turn 4, keeps it underneath of him. It's going to give a little bit of a push to his teammate in Hayes. As now Mayato is going to go up to that Larson line above that top seam to try to get it run and help out his VSPEED teammate. If I can get that word out of my mouth, is no. He's going to go to the bottom of Bailey Turner, going into turn 3 side by side. We'll have to see how it plays out at turn 4, Daniel.
Yeah, and I think you and I have a different definition of a little bit loose, because that was a big loose for the 36 off of turn number 4. That last time around, as you can see, contact a little bit further back between Ryan Phillips and Ryan Gemmel. A little bit of door banging there off of turn 4, but no harm, no foul as of right now. But Keith Mayato able to clear through for that number 2 position up near the front of the field. Now I got to wonder, how much do you think that Keith may play the teammate game here? I mean, he knows that Brody Hays needs to lead the most laps to have a chance at the championship, or really to have the best chance at a championship. Does he get up there and try to push for the lead, or does he just kind of stay in second here and maybe you play a little bit of defense for your teammate? I think we're getting ready to get that answer, though.
Yeah, as of right now, it looks like there's no team orders on Team VSPEED right now, as Keith Mayato coming all the way to the rear bumper of Brody Hays. But another thing to keep in mind, Daniel, is if Keith runs the top lane, it really gives Bailey Turner nowhere to go, and you're kind of really seeing that with him running a lane higher than his teammate in Brody Hays. So it can really go either way. If he wants to push, he has a chance to with him running a slightly different lane, getting a little bit of clean air on his nose. But if he wants to help his teammate, he can definitely still push him coming out of turns 2 and 4 with the momentum he's able to carry a lane higher than him.
Yeah, and personally, if it's me, I'm probably not helping my teammate, but that's because it would probably be you that's racing for a championship, and I'd say, nah, you can go out there and earn it the old-fashioned way. I ain't helping that guy.
Means a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome, son.
Wow, you actually call me a son on broadcast? I think that's a first here tonight, Daniel.
Well, you know, we're getting down to the last race of the season. We got to have a first of something somewhere along the line, so yeah, we'll just go ahead and leave it at that for right now. But still got a lot of good action going on the track. You can see this battle starting to heat up here between Ray Massey, got Eric Hutton in the 88, Dallas Sullivan up there still trying to get that high groove rolling up there in 3 and 4. Sullivan been hanging right around in the top 10 all evening, just kind of quiet from where he started off at. But really solid run for him so far to this point. And yeah, I mean, you can see it right there. Just really awesome how different the grooves are here. And you could really make either one of them work, as you can see Ryan Gemmel now using that inside lane, trying to get around the 46 of Dallas Sullivan. Looks like he's going to be able to complete that pass with a little slide up the racetrack. He's able to get that position.
Yeah, and this battle is still heating up with Ray Massey now looking to the inside of Eric Hutton, and Chris Samard trying to look to the top of Bailey Turner. Still side by side between the 88 and the 23 coming out of turn 2, Daniel.
Yeah, just a lot of really good side by side. I didn't quite see what happened to Ryan Gemmel earlier. He was running up in the he was running up there near a podium position, running in the top 5, and after that first caution, I don't know if maybe he got tagged for speeding on pit road or what may have happened. I looked back and saw him near the back of the pack, but done a really nice job to this point of recovering, currently running in that 6th position, still down 4 spots from where he initially started, but really good recovery since he did go to the back of the pack.
Yeah, that's definitely true. As now Eric Hutton has caught up to Chris Samard and looking to his inside, with Chris running a little bit of a lane higher, kind of. I don't want to put words in people's mouths or teams and stuff like that, but it looks like he's just trying to keep Bailey Turner to that inside lane so he has nowhere to go and just force him to run that bottom lane. As now he's running that top seam as soon as I say it, and just try to get that pass done on to Bailey Turner with Eric Hutton pushing him on the back straightaway to get him clear of Bailey Turner. Now VSPEED guys in first, second, and third position here this evening.
Yeah, it is a VSPEED podium up front. And, you know, we're sitting here talking about teammates and how do you race your teammate when they're battling for a championship. We saw it right there. Just like you said, Eric Hutton actually pushed Chris Samard past his teammate Bailey Turner, with Bailey battling for that championship position. So definitely no team orders there, but, you know, part of it too may be Bailey Turner thinking, hey, Eric, if you're fast enough to get up there and challenge for the lead, go for it. Because if you get up there and take some laps led away from the 37, or you get up there and take the lead away, that's just going to help me out even more. So, you know, there's other ways that your teammates can help here aside from just, you know, maybe giving you a preferred line or just not passing you. There's other things they can do, and that includes just going all out, going up there and racing somebody that you're racing against.
You know, Daniel, that's 100% true. And I was just thinking, back to Rockingham, when I did the tail of the tape, I want to say I picked the 88 of Eric Hutton, and you picked the 24 of Bailey Turner. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as of right now, your curse may have been lifted with right now Bailey Turner.
Don't say that, Lucas.
Having 10 points over Brody Hays, so we might have cleansed you of your broadcaster's curse.
There is still a long way to go in this race, and I'm sure that if Bailey Turner was listening right now, he would probably tell both of us to shut up about a broadcaster curse. Especially if he's watched any of the other VSPEED series that I'm on and seen how I have absolutely screwed over some drivers in some other series by picking them for the win. So, let's just go ahead and put the curse talk on the back burner. I do believe you are right, though, that I picked Bailey Turner at the beginning of the chase. Probably would have been a smart idea for one of us to write those picks down somewhere. But here we are at Homestead, 8 races later, and even though Eric Hutton isn't in it for the championship right now, it's still been a really strong showing for him throughout the championship chase as well. Had a win in the chase. It's actually his first win of the season. He picked a great time to get that done. And so far on the evening, up 5 spots from where he started, currently holding down that final spot in the top 5.
Yeah, and running that Dale Jr. might have added a little bit of horsepower to his car here tonight, being able to navigate through the field to gain those 5 spots like you mentioned. Currently riding behind his teammate Bailey Turner, and we'll have to see what Eric Hutton can do. So far, so good this evening at Homestead, Miami. But one thing I do want to bring up, Daniel, is we're kind of starting to see 2 separate packs. We have the top 11 kind of all in a single file line, and then Ryan Phillips in the 12th position to Jake Mankey in the 16. Do you think they're just trying to save a little bit more fuel running in the back, or what do you think their plan is here, Daniel?
It's definitely difficult to say this early on, but it does seem like the kind of gap between the 2 different packs, if you will, is really where those drivers came down pit road and did top off under that last caution. And I mean, it might even not necessarily be that they're trying to save fuel, but whenever you're running like the reduced fuel loads, it does change the balance of the car a little bit. And then if you come down pit road, you top off when you've got a handful of laps on the tires, it can also just make it drive a little bit different. So, it's possible that maybe the cars just aren't driving the way they anticipated with that change in the balance with the weight of the fuel and everything. So have to see how it plays out. I think those guys that did come down pit road and top off on that last caution, probably a good idea. I think it's going to end up being a smart decision for them, but still a long way to go to see, and still a long way to go before we start really getting into fuel saving. Yeah,
still a little over 100 laps to go here tonight at Homestead, Miami. Currently, top 3 has a 1/10 of a second over Bailey Turner. Basically, the top 5 all single file, and then a small little gap to the 6 of Ryan Gimmel, with the top 3 spots being VSPEED drivers, and Ryan Gimmel being an associated VSPEED driver, riding in the 6th position. But right now, it's basically Team VSPEED versus Sad Boys Racing of Bailey Turner and Eric Hutton. So basically, you have a championship battle between Brody Hays and Bailey Turner, and a team battle between VSPEED and Sad Boys Racing. So it's shaping out to be 2 separate battles here at Homestead, Miami. As Chris Simard hits on wall.
Yeah, that was a really hard lick into the wall off of turn 4 there for the 77. And looked like just maybe chasing the car a little bit on the exit. And yeah, that was a really hard hit, especially with the way he hit on the right front. So I have to see if he drops back any here with any type of damage or anything like that. But Lucas, you were talking about the way that this battle is shaping up. And for the last 3 or 4 laps now, Bailey Turner has consistently been the fastest driver here out of our top 5. This past lap, he was still faster than the 2 drivers in front of him, although it did balance out just a little bit. But Turner's been working that top groove, whereas Brody Hays and Keith Mayato both been kind of glued to the bottom. So it seems like the speed is starting to migrate up to the top of the track a little bit here. As you can actually see now that we're talking about that, Brody Hays is going to go up there and test the waters on that high line and see if he can make it work. But Bailey Turner, the last few laps have been running 33.5s, whereas the rest of the pack had been running 33.6s and 33.7s. This time by pretty much everybody in that 33.7 range of our top three. Chris Smart actually the fastest of our top five that last lap. So little bit of a change and a shift in where the speed is at going on right now.
Well, here's a question I have for you, Daniel. Do you think Bailey Turner was running faster lap times running the top because he was able to get the clean air on his nose and it kind of adjusts the balance to his liking, messing with the air? And now you have Brody Hays running the top, and it's really not giving a line for Bailey Turner to get clean air on his nose. And it really puts him in a predicament where he has nowhere to go to get the air exactly where he wants it so he can drive the car how he wants it.
Yeah, I think that could absolutely be a part of it, you know, with the way that these two up front were running between Hays and Mayato. They were definitely glued to the bottom, so Bailey Turner, by running that top groove, did kind of have his choice of clean air. As you can see, Chris Samard had a run on Turner. Turner went down and threw a little bit of a block getting into turn number one there. Nothing super egregious, but getting up on that high groove now, see if he can get the momentum built back up. As Eric Hutton was looking, he was thinking about trying to go to the outside, not quite close enough to try to take advantage and go to the outside of the 77 himself. But yeah, I mean, even before that though, Hutton and Turner were really the two drivers that were running the fastest out of this little lead pack that we've got right here. So it seems like, you know, maybe something in that team chat that they've kind of hit on that maybe they're sharing with each other. It definitely seems like they have the speed advantage right now. It's just a matter of, can you find the clean air and the clean racetrack to be able to do anything with it?
Yeah, clean air, from my experience last night, was pretty important, having to search around the track to find the grip that you need as Keith Mayato gets loose coming out of turn 4. And it just really helps the handling of the car and the tire wear as well, Daniel. Whether you run the bottom or the top, the clean air kind of just seemed a little bit more important to save the tires and keep the temperatures from getting too hot to where it just burns off and you have no tires left late in the run.
Yeah, that is definitely a big part of it with the clean air, which leads to another interesting question, because we're going to be closing in on green flag pit stops here the next handful of laps or so. Do you run it long and try to have that tire advantage with just a little bit more speed at the end of the run? Or do you come down pit road and risk maybe a yellow comes out, traps you a lap down? What do you do? Do you come down early, or do you try to play the long game?
It's either you have to do one extreme or the other, from my experience here, Daniel. There was one race that I did when it was actually in the Xfinity cars where I only stayed out a few laps longer, and I wasn't able to catch back up just because of how the race decided to play out. So if you're going to come down early, as Chris Amar looks to the outside of Bailey Turner in turns 2 and 3, that's in turns 1 and 2, excuse me, but if you're going to come down early, it's probably going to have to be 10 laps minimum for you to really see that difference in tires. And if you stay out late, you're probably going to have to do 10 to 15 laps to really have that tire advantage later on.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting question. And, this is a really difficult pit road to get onto. It's one of the hardest in NASCAR. It kind of ranks up there to me with places like Darlington or Dover, just as far as how difficult it is to get onto. Not necessarily that you approach it the same way, but just level of difficulty. And, that's always my concern, specifically with a place like Homestead. If you are coming down pit road under green, does somebody make a mistake getting on pit road and end up maybe spinning back onto the track, or do they spin trying to get down off of the track and it brings out a yellow? And the next thing you know, you've lost your track position and you're at a tire disadvantage because you have to take a wave around. But for right now, I mean, if I'm Bailey Turner, I'm basically just going to do whatever the 37 does. I mean, you don't have to beat him to win the championship. You basically just have to keep him within touching distance, and you've got this thing wrapped up. So that would at least be my strategy in this situation. He's only really racing one car, and I mean, right now he's in position to come home with the championship doing what he's doing.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And we saw a really good angle in turns 3 and 4. Did you see how much Brody Hays has that rear end of his 37 car yawed out, running that top lane, and getting a really good drive off coming out of turn 4, Daniel?
Yeah, he has definitely got that car hung out sideways and able to make it work, which, you know, that's one of the things, again, that I love that the admins over here have done with these setups to free them up. You've run the ARCA car. You know that with the setups that iRacing provides, they're not bad setups. I don't want it to seem like I'm saying that. They drive tight. And when they drive tight, you can't really do things like we're seeing here with drivers running the wall, getting up there, running that top groove, because it already burns the right front off of it by doing that. So really, a lot of the racing that we've seen here this evening is just a product of these custom setups that we're running. So, yeah, I know I've said it before on this broadcast. I've said it previous weeks, but just hats off to the admins for doing that extra work and getting these cars set up to where we can have some great racing like we're seeing here.
Yeah, they do a really good job with these setups. So we've seen numerous photo finishes here this season with green light checkered finish at Richmond, which is probably so far my favorite finish of the season so far, with it being 3 wide and Keith Mayotto deciding to take right side tires, and it works out for him in a 3 wide finish. And man, it was just such a good finish.
Yeah, it really was. And for that to be the first race that I got a chance to call over in this series, it was just it was just amazing. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better setup. Even the racing leading up to that finish was just absolutely phenomenal. As you can see, these top 3 cars are just all over each other here. And I believe we are going to see the first round of green flag stops. That is Brody Hays giving up the race lead here on lap number 64. And he's going to hit pit lane. You see Ryan Phillips, Alan Dice also on pit road at this time. Also throw Ryan Gemmel into that as well. So now if you're Bailey Turner, do you stay out, try to lead a lap, get that bonus point, or do you say, well, my championship rival came in, I've got to try to cover at this point and do the same? I think we're about to find the answer to that here, as actually it looks like a lot of these guys are starting to hit pit lane. That is Keith Mayotto, and oh boy, I did not think that Bailey Turner was going to get that slowed down in time. Ray Massey also smoking the tires, getting it woed down onto pit road. But that's going to hand the battle for the lead, rather, over to Eric Hutton and Chris Samard. I have to assume that we'll see them on pit road here shortly.
Yeah, but if I was the 88 and the 77, I would definitely try to run this as long as they can to just try to build that gap, as they're not able to, and they have to come down pit road this time, which is going to hand the lead, not lead the lead, to Jeremiah Hobbs coming out of turn 4, is going to assume the lead this time by, and has a pretty decent gap to Jake Maki, 2.7 seconds right now, the gap between first and second with the green flag pit stops underway.
Yeah, and one really important thing that I just saw with this round of green flag pit stops is that the 24 Bailey Turner was able to stay ahead of Keith Mayotto in the 36 through this green flag pit cycle. They're still right next to each other, running really close on track. But before that, it was side by side. It's still side by side, but Bailey Turner with the slight edge now over the 36 rather, of Keith Mayotto.
Yeah, right now is clear of Keith Mayotto and still has a 1.3 second gap to Brody Hays. So if he can keep my auto is now, Keith looks to the inside on the front straightaway. If he can stay within arm's distance of Brody Hays, it's going to be really hard for Brody Hays to go out there and be able to win the championship with the 10-point deficit that he has here tonight.
Yeah, it's it's definitely going to take a little bit of help for the 37 to be able to bring home the championship just with that 10-point deficit. Not out of the question, but definitely doesn't control his own destiny in that aspect. And, one of the things that we actually haven't touched on to this point regarding the points battle and the points situation is, what if these two drivers end in a tie? That was something I actually had to dust off the rule book and take a look at earlier because I didn't have the slightest idea what the tiebreaker was. It would actually go to the highest finishing driver in the race between the two tied drivers, which obviously if they're tying would have to be the 37 of Brody Hays. So something to keep in mind, that he doesn't necessarily have to beat him, he just has to tie him.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, Daniel. But right now, Bailey Turner is making it really, really hard for Brody Hays to get the gap that he needs to even potentially have the spots to tie Bailey Turner this race. So it's a very, very steep uphill climb as we only have 80 laps left. So time is definitely running out for the 37 of Brody Hays.
Yeah, it's definitely an uphill battle, and even just taking a look at our lap times, these last couple of laps, Bailey Turner has consistently been running faster than Brody Hays. Now, I'm not sure if that's a matter of Brody Hays maybe backing off, saving a little bit of tire because he does have that gap. Maybe there's a little bit of draft help between the 24 and the 36 compared to Brody Hays just kind of running by himself right now. But, yeah, from where I'm sitting and from what I'm seeing, it's almost like, even though it's only 1 lap difference between their tires, it's like that 1 lap fresher tire that Brody Hays has, or that Bailey Turner has, excuse me, is really making a difference, as he's consistently 1/10 to 2/10 a lap faster than the 37.
Yeah, last time by 0.25 seconds faster for the 24 of Bailey Turner with Keith Mayato behind him. So slowly starting to reel in the 37 of Brody Hays. And it's like you said, them having 1 lap fresher tires, we'll definitely have to keep an eye and see how it plays out with the long run between these two drivers. But keep in mind, Daniel, we still have 1 pit stop, so a speeding penalty can definitely change everything.
Yes, indeed it can. As you can see, Bailey Turner there now looking up on the high groove, trying to see if he can gain some momentum to try to make a run at Brody Hays. But that's actually going to open the door for Keith Mayato to potentially take a look down on the inside. Mayato not quite close enough, though, not quite enough momentum to be able to try to make the pass stick that time by. A little bit further back behind this battle, though, we got another good battle going on here between our 4th, 5th, and 6th place drivers. It's it's Eric Hutton, then Ray Massey, and Chris Samard. Cody Atkins and James Loveland not far behind that battle either. But you can see there, Chris Samard taking a look to the inside, trying to find a way to get himself back into the top 5 here. It looks like he's going to be able to complete the pass on Ray Massey. And again, I really think that the tire difference, even though it is just 1 lap, I think that it is making the speed difference that we're seeing up front. So you can see Bailey Turner look into the inside of Brody Hays. Hays is going to have the help from his teammate with the draft. Hays up to the top groove. That's Keith Mayato looking to the inside. Boy, that got tight between those two off of turn 4.
Yeah, it really did. And they start to slowly discombobulate you, Daniel, as you start to get confused on which driver is who between the VSPEED guys, because they run very similar paint schemes, just different colors. But Bailey Turner is doing everything he can to get around the 37 and Brody Hays, trying to work the lines, but as of right now, it seems like Keith is just trying to go into line that Bailey Turner's not. So when he jumps out of line, he'll go behind Brody Hays and give him a push on the back straightaway so Hays can keep that position. So right now, Keith Mayano is playing teammate for Brody Hays, which as of right now would still lose the championship for a few points between the two of them, but still really good racing up here at the front.
Yeah, this time Bailey Turner with a big run there through 3 and 4. This is the closest he's been. We'll see if he dives it in and tries to pull the slide job. He has got himself clear of the 37 of Brody Hays. We'll see if Hays can fight back on the bottom with a little bit more momentum. Turner getting loose off of the turn. He's able to keep it under control, but they are still going to be side by side into 3 and 4.
Yeah, this is really good racing for the lead right now between the heavyweights of the league right now. Still side by side coming out of turn 4 with Hays side drafting Turner to try to get that lead back. And man, just what good racing that the admins over here at BTDY with the modifying the setups to have such a great race here so far when it's starting to wind down with only 70 laps so far, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel, and it's still really good between the 24 and the 37.
Lucas, are you trying to do math on the fly during the broadcast?
Yeah, it's not working out too well.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's not working too well for you, buddy. We've got you in here to push buttons and give us camera angles and sometimes talk about the race. You just leave the math to me over here. I got you covered on that.
Well, how many laps we got left, Daniel?
We've got 70.
So I was right.
You were right. It was just taking you a while to get there. But I'll tell you one thing, though. The battle is on. That looked like there may have been a little bit of contact between the 37 of Hays and the 24 of Turner. And while we've been watching this battle, it has allowed Eric Hutton and Chris Samard to close right up on these two. And, we're talking about these tire differences only being 1 lap. But, again, I really feel like that's what it is because this past lap, Eric Hutton was a full half a second faster than our race leader. So it just, even though it's only that 1 lap difference and you do make up some of that time by doing the short pit, it seems like you gain more back with the way that this car is driving by staying out a little bit longer.
Yeah, and right now, Eric Hutton is literally driving through this top 3. And another thing to keep in mind, Daniel, Brody Hays and Bailey Turner were racing really, really hard, which is slowing them down. It's now Keith Mayano is going to look to the inside of his VSPEED teammate for the lead, and I'm pretty sure Hays is definitely not going to make it easy for him. But right now, this is the biggest gap that Brody Hays has had to Bailey Turner points-wise. So if this continues to play out and he's able to hold off the 88 of Eric Hutton, it will be a really, really close fight between the two for the championship here.
Well, and even more than that, we've talked about how Bailey Turner needs to finish in 6th to win no matter what Brody Hays does. And that 6th place driver right now is Ray Massey. So, I mean, even if he falls to the back of this pack, he would still be in position to win that championship as that last car in line there is a lap down. So that is not for position. But still, you don't want it to be that close. You'd like to give yourself a little bit of a gap. One thing that could help close that gap is if his teammate Eric Hutton could take the lead here from the 37.
Yeah, and he's definitely trying to do it right now coming out of turn 2. And Bailey Turner was looking to get his draft off of Eric Hutton going into turn 3, decides to run behind Keith Mayano. But right now, Team VSPEED and Team Sad Boys is starting to really shape up and heat up as Bailey Turner gets loose coming out of turn 4. It's going to lose the spot to Chris Samard as of right now. A little bit of door banging going to turn 1. Chris Samard running a lane up, now running that top seam in turns 1 and 2. We'll have to see what Bailey Turner decides to do and what Chris Samard does in response.
Yeah, and I think this has really set the strategy for moving forward that you do not want to be the first driver on pit road after all of this. I think when you come down pit road for that last pit stop, you want to run it longer just based off of what we're seeing here. As right now, Bailey Turner's still in that 4th position. Eric Hutton trying to get up there and find his way to the lead, but Keith Mayato fighting back on the inside here.
Yeah, Keith Mayato has been doing a really, really good job running either lane. Probably one of the best so far this evening. We've seen him run the top. We've seen him run the bottom. Same thing with Bailey Turner this race so far. And Eric Hutton is really putting the pressure on Hays, as now Mayato is going to look to the inside for P2 on Hutton, as I forget names for a second, and really making it difficult for them to get around Mayato to ease the pressure off of Hays. But the pressure has not been off of Hays from Bailey Turner, because he's back up to that 4th position behind his teammate.
Yeah, and one thing about it that I've seen out of Bailey Turner this evening is it really seems like he's able to kind of back off, cool the tires down, get back up there, amount of charges. Now they're going to be 3 wide for the number 2 position. Going to wonder if anybody's going to lift or give way here, but not quite. Bailey Turner really tight on the door of the 36. He gets him a little bit loose there just with how tight he was running. That's going to put him up to the 3rd spot and put Hutton up to 2nd.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to become a steeper and steeper climb as Brody Hays is running out of laps to get this done for a championship here. And Bailey Turner, as of right now, would be our champion and running in the 3rd position as of right now behind his teammate. But Brody Hays is starting to put on a small little gap, ran a tenth of a second faster last time by. So we'll have to see what it is when we're not going 3 wide into turn 1 between Hutton and Hays for lap time references, with Hutton having 1 lap fresher tires and Turner having 1 lap fresher tires. As Zach Smith gets real loose in the back coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, Zach Smith not currently on the lead lap, is in the free pass position though, as first car 1 lap down. But yeah, for now it looks like things starting to kind of settle down just a little bit between our top 5, top 6 drivers here after what was a lot of really close racing there. Drivers just utilizing every line that they can. Looks like they're going to try to fall in line, maybe cool it back down and see if they can get out there and get after it again.
Yeah, I will say, Daniel, the action tonight has not calmed down whatsoever. Yes, we're running single file, but the drivers are still deciding to peek out like what Keith Mayato is doing here to get a run from Ray Massey to hold on to his position in P4. But these drivers are getting huge runs out of turns 2 and 4, which is giving them the chance to make passes. As you see now, Turner able to make the pass on Hutton as Hutton gets slightly loose, kicks the rear end out in turns 3 and 4, and able to take that 2nd position.
And that will put our 2 championship rivals now back in the number 1 and number 2 positions as they head down into turns 1 and 2. And you mentioned it, Eric Hutton starting to fall back just a little bit here. See if he can get that momentum back and get back around the 36 of Mayato. He is able to carry that momentum and regain the position for now, but still running side by side, and really 4 cars right under a blanket together there also.
Yeah, side by side with Keith Mayato and Hutton, as now Chris Samar's going to look to the inside of Ray Massey. Right now, Ray Massey is still clear running that bottom line, but Chris Samar definitely showing his intentions of trying to take that inside from Ray Massey and force him a lane higher than what he really wants to run, as the battle between Mayato and Hutton hasn't calmed down whatsoever.
No, and you can also throw Massey and Samard into that as well. You've got them looking like they're, I don't want to say like they're out there at Talladega running 2x2 like that, but it's not too far off of it as Ray Massey ducks down to the inside. Don't think he was going to try to make a move there, just maybe try to make him think about it just a little bit. But, I mean, really not a whole lot of places you can go unless you want to shove it 3 wide. as Mayato and Eric Hutton do end up sorting it out for now for that position and continue running third and fourth.
Yeah, going in turn one last time by, I think there was actually a little bit of contact between Ray Massey and Chris Lamar going into turn one. Not too sure what exactly happened. Don't know if Chris Lamar came down or Ray Massey came up, but it got a big time loose going into turn one last time by.
That would certainly explain the duck down to the bottom that we saw between those two drivers. So it looked like Keith Mayato actually got into the wall a little bit, trying to run that top groove over in 1 and 2 the last time by. Allows Eric Hutton to get out to just a little bit of a gap. But for now, though, everything seems to have calmed down between these drivers. Let's take a look a little bit further back here, looking at the 0-2 of James Loveland, the 55 of Cody Atkins. Atkins has been trying to catch the 0-2 of James Loveland here the last few laps. So far, though, James Loveland doing a really nice job. One of the drivers that was actually in contention earlier in the chase for that best of the rest, and hasn't been able to complete all the races. As you can see there, that is the 91 of Zach Smith. That car has seen better days and is in fact missing a left. Well, I don't think he was missing the left front tire, but it's like he gave it the old Alt F4 treatment there. Just said, let me go ahead and get off track before I end up bringing out a caution that maybe throws a wrench in this championship.
Yeah, which is really nice to see that Zach Smith was able to do that in time before that caution came out. So props to him for noticing that we have a really tight battle for the championship and decides to take the gentleman road out and let this battle continue to play out.
Yeah, absolutely. As we take a look here at our race for the lead, Brody Hays starting to put just a little bit of a gap over Bailey Turner, almost a half a second, got a little over 4/10 right now. But Eric Hutton and Keith Mayato have actually started to close back in on this battle. Thought that Bailey Turner was basically just going to set sail and pull away from these guys in third and fourth, but has not been the case to this point.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job keeping Bailey Turner honest while still racing it out as Mayato's on the bottom. And Hutton is running a lane above him in that middle seam as he gets a little bit loose, scrubbing that right rear coming out of turn two. Still great racing between these two drivers. Side by side going into turn three. Mayato is going to push it real deep coming into turn three. Gets big time loose.
Oh, big loose.
Man, what a save.
That was impressive out of the 36 that he was able to save that. I thought for sure with as yawed out as that car was at first that he was going around or something was going to happen. Let's take a look at this on the instant replay between these two. I mean, this is just like a classic pass that you make here. You overdrive the entry, you kind of slide up in front of the other driver, and you can see there he is wheeling it. I thought he actually made some contact with the wall, but no, he didn't touch the wall. He kept it off of it. That was an impressive piece of driving by Mayato there.
Yeah, that's no easy feat to do. And to also keep it off of the outside wall, it's huge. It gives Mayato that track position while still racing Eric Hutton, and he has that top lane to work with now. So this battle still hasn't calmed down, even though we saw that massive slide job from Keith Mayato that last time by.
Yeah, and one interesting thing here is we see these drivers running 2x2 again. This little pack of four, they just cannot get away from each other here tonight. But we're getting to a point where we're going to start closing in on some green flag pit stops again. The leaders currently anywhere from about 35 to 37 laps on this stint for fuel as they currently run. It's going to be really, really close on whether or not these drivers are going to be able to make it on one more stop. I mean, we know that there are a few drivers that did stay out longer because they came in and topped off on that first or on that most recent caution rather that we had. So you look at somebody like, like a Jake Maki or Rob Liedl running back in the 12th and 13th positions right now. They're definitely good to make it on one more stop just with those extra laps that they stayed out. But depending on when these leaders have to hit the pit lane, it's going to be close for them.
Yeah, it really is. And looking back at Darlington, we thought that Bailey Turner wasn't able to save enough fuel, and he was able to save enough, run the pace that he needed to run, and was able to capture the win at Darlington when we were there. So if anyone's going to save fuel, I think Bailey Turner is going to be the first one to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see him doing that after he made all of us look stupid with our fuel calculation predictions. So going to be something to keep an eye on here. And, something else too, not to hash up bad moments in the championship. As you can see, Eric Hutton that thing was all over the place off of 4. But we talked about this pit lane being difficult to get into. We talked about, an incident on pit road, whether it's speeding or whether it's spinning, getting into the pits could potentially decide your championship. We saw it at Iowa. The first 4 races of this chase, it seemed like Brody Hays was getting ready to put it to bed. He was getting ready to walk away with it. Had a pretty sizable lead over Bailey Turner at one point. And kind of where things unraveled for him earlier in this season was the green flag pit cycle at Iowa. He came into the pits a little too hot, got into the tire barrier, or the pit barrels, getting into the pit lane, got a meatball flag, and went from running, probably top 5, probably podium in that race, to finishing in the back with a DNF. So, we've seen firsthand how quick a green flag pit cycle can flip everything upside down.
Yeah, and Iowa is probably, I know you said that this is probably one of the harder pit roads to get on. I would actually say Iowa is probably one of the hardest, with Darlington also. I know that was one that was on your list, but Iowa, you just have to turn so sharply on a pit road, and it's such a blind corner as we see Ray Massey looking back to the inside to keep my auto in man.
Oh, baby, what a save.
Keith Maiato is absolutely wheeling that thing right now and just kicking that rear end out and still making it work while saving the car.
I don't know if that felt as big from the driver's seat as it looked from up here. Man, he's sideways again. He is sawing the hell out of that wheel in there. I don't know if it feels as sideways as it looks to us, but man, he is absolutely driving the wheels off of that car and still making pretty good speed doing it. That's the impressive part of all of it, is that he's able to do that and still maintain the pace that he has, running up there in the 4th position. As, we see there, first driver on pit road again is going to be Brody Hays in the 37, and Bailey Turner brings it down pit road as well. Keith Maiato following him, and you can also see Ryan Phillips, Alan Dice. They are on pit road here too. So this is it. And with where they're pitting at, 42 laps to go, I would say they should be able to make it to the end, because they just ran 42 and 43 lap stints on this most recent tire cycle. But they're definitely pushing it to the end of what these cars can go, and asking a lot out of the tires as well.
Yeah, they really are. As you see, Hutton gets real loose coming out of turn 4, and the gap between Hays and Turner before Hays decided to come down pit road was 1 second between the two drivers for the championship. So it's definitely going to be really interesting to see. As you see in the background, Brody Hays has to get his lap back before we can even plan on having drivers between him and Turner, as right now he has 2.1 seconds between him and Turner. So definitely possible to have enough drivers between him and Turner for him to win the championship. But with how it's playing out right now, I don't think it's likely, Daniel.
Yeah, it's gonna, we were talking about the pit cycle, and we were saying it's gonna take probably a mistake out of the 24 to really get Brody Hays back in this championship battle. But Yeah, I mean, to this point, Brody Hays has been doing everything he needs to do as far as going out there, leading the most laps, in position to try to win this race. But Bailey Turner's been doing everything he needs to do. He's keeping it up there in the top 3, top 5 the entire race. He's just keeping the car clean. I mean, you can tell he is still wheeling this thing for everything that he can, but he's not put himself in bad positions. He's just kind of managing at this point. And, you know, especially once you get to this stage of the race, I mean, you've made your last green flag pit stop. You're kind of checking off boxes throughout the race, right? Like, first, let me get to that stage break. Let me get to the comp caution and see what my tires look like. Then it's, okay, let me get the first round of pit stops knocked out. Let me get the final round of pit stops knocked out. So now you can kind of see it in front of you. You're almost just saying, I don't need to push hard. I just need to make sure that I keep myself in shouting distance of that 37, keep myself within a couple positions of where he's at, and I can bring this home and call myself the champion this season.
I didn't know y'all were checking off boxes when y'all are in the race car. I get in the race car and I'm just like, car go fast. I need to go Froome, and I need to go now.
Folks, for all of you that are watching out there on VSPEED, which don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got a lot of awesome races here at BTDY and other series here on Goat Locker. But if you're not an iRacer yourself, this just gives you a glimpse into, there are two different types of iRacers out there. There's the type like me where I go into these races and I kind of have a checklist and I say, okay, let's get to this point of the race. Let's get to point B of the race, C, whatever. You're going through and you're kind of tactical about it. And then there's people like my comrade up here in the booth, Lucas, that just say race car go brr and loud pedal go loud. And, they always seem to be teammates with each other, too.
And it works, which is the funniest part, in my opinion, because when it gets towards the end of the race, we still find ourselves next to each other and racing for positions as well up towards the front of the field. So, two different styles of racing, and both can be very beneficial, Daniel.
Yeah, well, sometimes they can also both have their drawbacks, too. How many times you end up on the rollback by the end of the race?
Hey, I had a good time doing it, and that's all that matters here, brother.
Hey, I don't remember who it was that said, if you can't win the show, be the show, and you are the epitome of that, Lucas.
Yeah, I like slide jobs. Slide jobs are fun, especially when they're not expecting it.
Oh, you just never quite know whenever Lucas is out on track. But anyway, I digress. Our top two of the championship, back 1 and 2.
Our top two.
I'm almost curious to find out between Brody and Bailey, if one of them, I know they're not teammates, but I would almost be curious to know if one of them is like the let's check off the boxes and the other one is the push loud pedal harder type. I'd be kind of curious to know that. That's going to be a Discord question at some point, not an interview question, but yeah, that's just kind of got me wondering. Or maybe there's a reason why. Or maybe there's a reason why these guys are way faster. Maybe they just don't think about stuff like that. Maybe they just go out there and do what they know how to do. That might be part of it.
Well, if they go out there and don't think, wouldn't they just basically be like race car go burn, loud pedal go?
Hell, I don't know. You done lost me.
But back to racing right now. Brody Hays has a 1 second lead, and Bailey Turner is really chipping out of that lead. Last time by, Bailey Turner gained 2/10 on Brody Hays, our leader, with Keith Maiano running around the same lap times as Bailey Turner, but has a 4/10 of a second gap between those two.
I can tell you another driver that's on the move right now is that 88 of Eric Hutton in the 5th position. We saw him run a little bit longer on that pit cycle and currently running anywhere from about 2 to 3 tenths a lap faster than the leader. Now, Ray Massey directly in front of him, he is also putting down some pretty fast lap times too. Massey also running about 3 tenths faster than our race leader. Currently, both of them just over 2 seconds behind Brody Hays. But at the pace that they're going, I mean, they've got plenty of time to get up there and try to throw their hat into the ring to get this win tonight. And they're both basically saying, I don't care about a championship. I'm just out here for a checkered flag, which ironically enough sounds like something you would say.
Yeah, I'm not listening until I see got her checker flag, and that's a motto that both Ray Massey and Eric Hutton are going out of contention for Eric Hutton to win the championship this season, and Ray Massey not able to make the chase and was fighting for the best of the rest spot to have a free entry, but that's locked up by Dennis Faircloth, running in the 4th and 5th position, still running 0.2 of a second faster than our leader, Brody Hays. So if they get up there and start racing with the leader, I wouldn't be surprised if they race them harder to try to get a win on the season. I know Eric Hutton has won, and Ray Massey had some struggles throughout the season. So if Ray Massey's able to close the season out with a win, I bet he would be stoked.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it's a little bit surprising that he doesn't have a win on the season. I mean, I've seen him race in a few different series. He's always got a lot of speed, but also just goes to show the level, like the talent level over here in BTDY. It is not easy to win races in general, but just with a lot of the top end drivers that we have over here, you know, you got guys that just go out and win so consistently. Doesn't leave a whole lot of meat on the bone for anybody else to go out there and try to get one, but hey, more power to them. If I could go out and win like that, I'd go out and do it too.
Yeah, it's definitely a high talent field here in BTDY, and it's been putting on really good racing so far. Looking at our race recap, we only had 2 cautions so far this evening, and 13 different lead changes here tonight, with most of the laps led so far by Brody Hays, and I think he has that locked up tonight, Daniel.
Yeah, at this point, I would say, I don't know what the official number is, but I would say there is a pretty sporting chance that he has that locked up for most laps led here on the night. And, you know, we keep talking about this battle that's brewing back behind the leaders. You can see Eric Hutton and Ray Massey have caught up to the back of the 36 of Keith Mayato, trying to put some pressure on him for that final podium position. You can see Dennis Faircloth running there, was actually just put a lap down, running in the 10th position. So it looks like he's going to, or I'm sorry, actually he's on fresher tires than these guys as a result of his pit stop. So he's trying to race back up there and get his lap back the old fashioned way, using those fresher tires. So that way, if a caution does come out, he doesn't have to take the free pass.
Yeah, which would put Dennis Faircloth in a really good position if he decides to take right side tires that we've seen drivers do numerous times throughout the season on green, white, checkered. So if a caution comes out and Dennis Faircloth is still on the lead lap and is able to get his lap back, I wouldn't count him out from taking right side tires on the green, white, checkered.
You know, this is the one time that I would say you might be a little bit mad if you go out there and take 2 tires at this place, because we've seen how big the tire fall off is. I mean, even just 18 laps in, almost, actually about right at a half a second of tire fall off from the fastest laps that these drivers have turned this evening. And we've seen that the cars are kind of on the loose side anyway. So, you know, we're talking about a pretty big gamble if we do get a late race caution. That would take somebody with a little more chutzpah than I've got to go ahead and try that one.
I think it'll run fine. So Dennis, if you're listening to this and a caution comes out, I think you can definitely hold on to that race car for a chance to win here if we do have a green, white, checkered. But right now, Bailey Turner is on the back bumper of Brody Hays, able to reel in that gap after pit stops with about 23 laps left in this race coming to the line here. And this is really heating up for the win here tonight.
Yeah, it really is. And Bailey Turner there, you know, He could very easily just say, I'm in the spot that I need to be in. I'm not going to push. I'm just going to ride where I am. But he is up there trying to get this lead and cap off a championship season with a checkered flag in the race as well. He is right on the tailgate. He puts the bumper to the 37. He moves Brody Hays out of the way, but he's not able to clear. Brody Hays still on the outside of him. Gotta think that the driver of the 37 is not a big fan of that move out of Bailey Turner. Gonna have to see if that changes the way that Turner races him, as they are door to door leaning on each other. They make contact again through 1 and 2.
And the history is playing to fruition between these two drivers, between Bristol and Charlotte. You saw it with Bailey Turner able to push Brody Hays out of that bottom lane and really get Brody Hays loose, and he's able to hold on to it and more contact as we're only 20 laps to go in this race, and Bailey Turner is doing everything that he can to get the win here tonight. He's not worried about that championship. He wants another win on the season.
Yeah, he is absolutely going for it. And, you know, there's two different train of thought that I have here. One is you don't need the position for the win. You could ride right here in third, fourth. In the words of Ricky Bobby's dad, you could even be fifth, and you could go out there and come home with the championship. But the other thought process is he's put himself in this position to potentially win a championship by being aggressive and going for the lead and doing what he does best. That's going fast. So, you know what? It's far be it for me to question the guy holding the steering wheel that's out there with a shot at the championship. I gotta admire the fact that he's still willing to go out there. He's not just going to settle for whatever position he's got out on track.
Yeah, you're making Talladega Night references. I'll go ahead and make some with you. You're siding with Ricky Bobby's dad, saying you can finish anywhere in the field. I'm siding with Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last, baby. And right now, Bailey Turner is trying to do everything he can to get the lead back. But right now, the battle is on between the VSPEED teammates of Keith Mayato and Brody Hays coming out of turn 2, side by side still between the two teammates. And Bailey Turner is definitely putting the pressure back on to Brody Hays, and Keith Mayato fending him off on the bottom side right now. But Bailey Turner is going to have that run coming out turn 4.
Yeah, that's the downside. If you don't complete that pass on the bottom, you've got somebody right behind you. They can take advantage and gain the position, as well as we just saw there with Bailey Turner going to the outside and taking the number 2 spot back. Now we're going to see if he can get up there and get alongside the 37. We've seen contact multiple times this evening. Are the bumpers going to come out again? Bailey Turner is right there with a shot to try to take the lead from the 37 of Hays. He's got the speed. He's got the momentum. Is he going to be able to make it stick?
Yeah, coming out of turn 4, he definitely has to run. So we'll have to see if the bumper gets placed again to the rear end of Brody Hays. Right now, Bailey Turner thinks better of it, but he's running a line that really maximizes his speed on the straightaways, and that's playing to the benefit of Bailey Turner. Not too far behind, Keith Mayato and Eric Hutton, as we say with this battle, are also duking it out. So VSPEED versus Sad Boys really coming into fruition for the top 4 spots. And Bailey Turner had to look to the inside of Brody Hays. Gets a little bit loose for both of the drivers. Now Keith Mayato is going to have the run on the straightaway into turn 1, side by side. No one's giving an inch with only 15 laps to go in this race.
We are getting down to the wire here in the season finale. The race win on the line, the championship on the line. We've got 2 sets of teammates up here. Like you had mentioned, Lucas, VSPEED and Sad Boys going at it for this race win. Throw Ray Massey into that as well. He's right there in the number 5 position. He's probably thinking, hey, maybe if y'all take each other out, I can just drive on through and get this win myself. This is absolutely crazy how these top 5 are just all under a blanket and just racing the ever-living wheels off of each other for this win this evening.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And the battle between Mayato and Hutton starts to settle out as now Ray Massey decides to go to the outside of Keith Mayato, running that middle lane. Now the top seam with a little bit of an early quarter exit. We'll have to see how that plays out for him. And Brody Hays is starting to put a small gap as you look on the ticker, and the gap going into turn one is starting to widen back out. So as Brody Hays saving his tires to pull back out after Bailey Turner was able to get to him and apply pressure and hit the nose, the chrome horn, would you say, to him, and now he's having to push a little bit harder to keep that gap so he can win the race here.
I don't think any of these drivers were saving anything right there. If anybody was, I think it was that 23 of Massey saying, y'all go up there and just race the piss out of each other. I'm going to sit here and just take care of it. Maybe I could take advantage at the end. But for right now, though, that last lap by, almost exactly identical lap times between Brody Hays and Bailey Turner, within 0.02 of a second between our top two drivers. You can see, especially over there in 1 and 2, it just seems like Bailey Turner is able to carry a lot more speed off of that corner exit. He gets such a good run down the back straightaway. They seem pretty even over here in 3 and 4, with Brody Hays maybe able to just maintain just a little bit more speed. That time around, 1/1000th of a second difference between our top two drivers in this race.
Well, even throw Eric Hutt into that, because he's matching a lot of times to both Bailey Turner and Brody Hays right now. I know he's mathematically out of the equation, but still in a really, really good spot to take the win here tonight as we're closing to 10 laps to go in the two giants of BTDY right now. First and second, which is not going to be enough for Brody Hays, which would give the championship to Bailey Turner. But this racing is absolutely phenomenal, and the admins over here at BTDY has done such a good job with the setup. A top 5 breakaway right now with Brody Hays, Turner, Hutton, Mayato, and Massey trying to get the win here this evening. Bailey Turner running that middle lane, and Brody Hays still deciding to run that bottom.
Yeah, Bailey Turner had started to catch on the back bumper of that 37 just a little bit. Lost it over there in 3 and 4. For whatever reason on that side of the track, it just seems like that upper groove has not come in the way that it has over here in 1 and 2. Now, granted, Bailey Turner's still kind of sticking to that bottom over in 1 and 2, but you know, it maybe it's a matter of just the time of day, the track temperature. We are starting to get into the evening here, sim time, so maybe the track cooling down and that groove shifting back to the bottom just a little bit here.
Yeah, looking at the times going through the corners, Bailey Turner definitely has Brody Hays' number. As Keith Minato sends it real deep on Eric Hutton behind Turner, and Hutton's going to cross him back over. But looking at the times between Hays and Turner, Bailey Turner definitely has Brody Hays' number going into turns 1 and 2. And Hays pulls it back out on the front straightaway in turns 3 and 4. So really even lap times between these two. As contact is made between Hutton and Mayato a little bit further back, which pushes Mayato up the track. The battle for third and the final podium position is on between these two drivers.
The battle is indeed on between these two, as Eric Hutton there on the bottom trying to keep that position, keep that final podium spot from Keith Mayato. But Keith, with the momentum up on the top side, looks like he's just about clear down the back straightaway. As you can see, Bailey Turner there up ahead. He is searching around for some grip. He's going back up to that extreme top groove. May have even kissed the wall just a little bit there. But look at the speed that he carries off a corner exit. I mean, he pulled back an entire 10th and a half just down the front straightaway by that line that he was able to run. That was, you know, we've been saying Larson line all evening, but that was the true Larson line through 3 and 4 there that he was running.
Yeah, but the problem with him deciding to run that lane is he lost 0.2 of a second in the tire in the entirety of corners 3 and 4. So he actually lost out 0.2 of a second right now, which is a big enough gap where Brody Hays can just be like, all right, I have some room behind me, as he's still pulling that gap out just a little bit, where he can relax and just focus on the line he's running and not so having pressure from Bailey Turner behind him. So half a second is the gap between first and second right now.
Yeah, and that last lap by Brody Hays was actually a full 1/10 of a second faster than Bailey Turner. So you're 100% spot on with what you're saying there. You can see Ray Massey back behind this group getting really loose off the exit of 4. He's definitely not trying to save anything. We've got 5 laps to go. 5 laps left in the season here in the FloridaSkinDoctor.com BTDY Racing Series. 5 laps until we crown a champion. The battle is on for second here. Keith Mayato all over the back bumper of Bailey Turner. Not quite able to find a way around as of yet. You would have to think if it comes down to it, Eric Hutton there, if he gets the opportunity, he's going to try to draft with his teammate and help him out. So we hit 4 laps to go at the line.
Yeah, right now, Mayato is trying to find a way to get around Turner for a VSPEED 1-2 here this evening. But Turner is definitely not making it easy as Mayato is now able to get to the inside of Bailey Turner going into turns 3 and 4. And side drafts from the 24. It's going to punch him down. And Turner still has the spot in P2. Mayato had a check up in the center of the corner as now we're 3 laps to go.
Yeah, down to 3 to go, as you had mentioned, and that's something that I've seen out of Bailey Turner a few times this evening. There's contact between Mayato and Turner. Both of them able to hang on to it, though. Really nice save out of the 24. Eric Hutton now coming up behind his teammate. Says, let me give you a shove down the straightaway, see if I can get you clear of this battle. It is going to indeed do that. That has allowed Brody Hays to jump out to a 1.3 second lead. And that's also going to allow Eric Hutton now to get to the outside of Keith Mayato. 2 to go at the line. The battle for the final podium spots is on.
Yeah, that was definitely a lot of contact between the 36 and the 24. And it really just let Hayes have the win here this evening, but that's still going to give the championship to the 24 of Bailey Turner. And it's like you said, the 36 and the 88 fighting really, really hard right now for that final position of the podium. And Ray Massey has now entered the picture as we are now on the final lap of the BTDY racing season here tonight at Homestead, Daniel.
1 to go, one more time around Homestead Miami Speedway. Out front, it is all 37 of Brody Hays. He comes off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway for the final time. He's got about a second and a half, little over that, over Bailey Turner for the number 2 position. Keeping an eye on him as these are our 2 championship contenders here. Brody Hays is going to get the race win here this evening. Bailey Turner in second, race back to the line for third. Eric Hutton by a nose over Keith Mayato for the final podium position. But again, Brody Hays with the race win in dominating fashion, and unofficially, that is going to give Bailey Turner with the P2 finish the championship for this season here in BTDY.
Yeah, definitely a heartbreak for Brody Hays because he did absolutely everything he needed to do here tonight. But Bailey Turner also did what he needed to do to win the championship and did not let Brody Hays pull any further than the 2-second gap that he had coming from pit stops. And now we see the 37 of Brody Hays burning it down for his win here tonight. And in short fashion, we'll probably see the 24 Bailey Turner do the same.
Yeah, and it has just been an absolute heavyweight fight between these 2 drivers. Both of them showing their skills behind the wheel. Both of them showing that they are at the top of this series. Can't ask for a much better championship battle than what we saw between the 37 and the 24 for this 8-race stretch. So you can see there the 24 of Bailey Turner burning it down on the front straightaway now. But folks, while they're celebrating, see the championship winner there burning it down. While they're celebrating, we're going to take one final commercial break for this season. Let you hear from our great sponsors and supporters that we have. We'll be right back with post-race coverage.
At At Cynthia Rogers, MD Dermatology, we specialize in providing comprehensive expert care for the full spectrum of skin conditions, from complex skin diseases and skin cancer to aging concerns and aesthetic needs. With decades of combined experience in medical, surgical, and aesthetic dermatology, our team brings both deep clinical knowledge and a patient-first approach to every visit. Our practice focuses on developing personalized treatment plans tailored to each individual's skin, health, and life stage. We're located in Port St. Lucie, Florida, in the PSL Professional Center. Learn more or schedule a visit at floridaskindoctor.com.
We've been around since 1946, originated as a scrapyard and evolved into a full-on steel service center, buying and selling new steel products of light fabrication, such as cutting, shearing, bending, threading. We also run a wholesale pipe, valve, and fitting plumbing division, as well as a retail showroom outlet. And then we also are a full-on structural steel fabricator, which is the skeletal steel that you see in commercial and residential structures. We sell to a wide variety of contractors, plumbers, maintenance type personnel, underground utility companies. We sell anything from single nuts and bolts to like a typical hardware store type of feel, one fitting, to full semi-loads of pipe. We're a little deeper in our inventory, and we actually have maybe a little more specialized type of fittings and such. Stock quite a diverse inventory, so we try to keep everything here to keep you guys going.
Backed by 70 years of experience, Duncan Water Systems specializes in commercial and residential water system testing, design, installation, and maintenance. Our mission at Duncan Water Systems is to provide high-quality water solutions to every customer. We pride ourselves on being responsive, honest, and customer-oriented. Our priority is safer water for you and your family. Contact us via call, text, email, or visit us at duncanwatersystems.com.
Welcome back to Homestead Miami Speedway, wrapping up the season here in the FloridaSkinDoctor.com racing series here for BTDY. Let's go ahead and give you your full race rundown, see exactly where your favorite drivers finished this evening. Starting first, finishing first, and just an absolute dominating performance is Brody Hays in the 37. Your champion, Bailey Turner, comes home in P2 with Eric Hutton rounding out the podium. Keith Mayato and Ray Massey round out your top 5. The rest of your top 10 is going to be Chris Samard in 6th, James Loveland in 7th, Dallas Sullivan in 8th, Cody Atkins in 9th, and Dennis Faircloth rounding out the top 10.
Finishing in 11th position, we have the 27 of Ryan Phillips. In the 12th position, we have the 13 of Jake Mankey, as I will say that for the final time this season. In 13th position, we have Rob Liedl in the 80. In 14th position, we have Alan Dice in the 5. 15th, we have Paul Hahn in the 25. 16th position, we have the 91 of Zach Smith. 17th position, we have the 31 of Jeremiah Hobbs. 16th position, we have the 6 of Ryan Gimmel. 19th position, we have the 15 of Christian Blackwell. And rounding out our field here tonight, in the 20th position, we have the 29 of Michael Robinson.
Well, let's go ahead and get a word with our top 3 finishers. Gonna start off here with our 3rd place driver, Eric Hutton. Eric, this is Daniel and Lucas up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah.
Well, man, you had a really strong run tonight. You showed a lot of speed. Didn't have the laps led necessarily, but did a nice job working your way up through the field, and especially with being on the little bit alternate tire strategy. Just what was your mindset coming into this race, knowing that mathematically you're out of it, but you got a teammate rather that's out there racing for a championship?
Yeah, it's just trying to help Bailey for the most part, and if I had the speed to win it and go for a win, but I think Brody was pretty clearly the fastest guy. I think one run I felt pretty good, but other than that, so just trying to help Bailey, help protect him from Brody's teammates, and help secure him a championship.
We saw you be able to drive through the field. What was it like navigating the lines to try to find that speed? And I know you said that you had to help Bailey defend from the VSPEED teammates. What was it like inside of the car, and how much pressure were you under to try to help your teammate Bailey Turner?
Yeah, I think the bottom line was my preferred line, but you could move around a little bit. Just trying to keep tires under it because it was real loose, pretty much everywhere, but especially in the higher lines. And turn 4 was real bad, so trying to keep tires on it and then not hit anybody. You don't want to caution there when we're on that long run. So yeah.
Well, really solid run, really solid season. Able to get a win earlier in the chase, and it was good to see you back on top of the standings there as well. Just before we let you go for the final time here this season, rather, who you want to thank, any sponsors or shout outs?
Yeah, just appreciate everybody putting on the league. It's been fun few years that I've been here, and appreciate Bailey being a good teammate, and Angelo and AJ. So looking forward to next season too.
All right. Well, congrats on the 3rd place. I'm sure we'll see you up here in the booth next season as well.
I will see you. Thanks.
Right. And let's go ahead and get a word with our race winner next. That's going to be Brody Hays. Brody, this is Daniel Lucas up here in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, you did everything you could do. You did everything you needed to do tonight to be able to put yourself in the best spot possible, leading the most laps, getting pole, winning the race. 7 points short for the championship. Just reflecting on your season as a whole, and especially these 8 races, is there anything that you feel like really stands out to you as like, if you could go back and redo it, or are you kind of happy with, I mean, I know you're not happy with not winning the championship. Obviously, you always want to win a championship, but just where do you feel like if you had a do-over that you would use it?
I mean, coming into the chase, we had a pretty good year, but I would say Bristol, Michigan, and Iowa really hurt me in the chase, and Bailey just didn't have any mistakes, and it just proved that you just needed to be consistent and stay on top of your game, in all of these races, and you'll come out on top. So props to him. I just got to clean it up a little bit and be more consistent when it comes to certain things, and I would be where he is. But it is what it is. 7 wins on the season isn't nothing to hang my head about. I got some things I got to clean up. I gotta earn the respect of everybody a little bit more. Sometimes I get a little wild, and I race hard when I probably don't need to, and it's irksome the guys, and Bailey especially, and just gotta clean it up. I like everybody in here. Racing in here is a lot of fun. This has been the most successful season I've had in BTDY, but it's also the one where I've ruffled the most feathers, and that's not what I want to be known for. So, Bailey's humbled me and made sure to really be on me about things, and I'll be on his, and you got to give it to. So, no, good year, and we'll move on to the next.
It's like you said, 7 wins on the season is no small feat at all. What are some things that you think you could have done a little bit differently here tonight? I know you got the pole here tonight and the most laps led, but it seems like you couldn't get away from Bailey Turner at all. Do you think a little bit different pit strategy would have helped, maybe undercut him a little bit more, or do you think you were just kind of at the mercy of what was going on behind you?
I mean, I did everything I needed to do. I got the pole. I led a lap. I led the most laps. I won the race. Bailey was going to be right there with me the whole time, as he's been this whole season. We just can't get away from each other. I could have wrecked him, but that's no way to win a championship or anything. So that was out of the question. If he got a pit road speeding penalty or something under green, that would have helped a lot. That would have made things interesting, but he did everything he needed to do to cover me and win the championship. So outside of that, I mean, my hands were kind of tied to, it is what it is at that point. I went out, focused on what I had to do, and I did it and executed, and it just wasn't meant to be this year.
Well, still a really phenomenal season, like you said. Led the series in wins. You and Bailey just put on, I mean, an absolutely phenomenal championship battle. So you made our jobs easier up here in the booth. You gave us enough to talk about with just the racing on track and everything. So congrats on a successful season overall. Before we let you go, who you want to thank for it?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to you guys up in the booth. These races have been entertaining from the beginning all the way to the end. I can't think of a season where it's been as crazy and exciting every race as it's been this year. The admins, they did a great job all year. Cody, I know he probably didn't fully enjoy building setups every week, but he did a great job to get this car as racy as it was every week. So major props to Cody. Florida skincare doctor for coming on board this year. Big thanks to them. Everybody, all our other sponsors that supported us this year. Everybody that watches, my girlfriend's family, they've tuned in every race since I've told them about it, and they love it more than the stuff you see on real television. So that's major props to you guys as well for what you're doing in the booth. So yeah, congrats to Bailey. He earned it. I'll see you guys next season.
All right. Well, there you have it from our race winner. Again, congrats on the season and the race win. I'm sure we'll be talking to you quite a bit next season.
Thank you, guys.
But now let's bring up the man of the hour, the champion himself, Bailey Turner. This is Daniel Lucas up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, man, first off, congrats. You have been fast all season. You definitely earned this championship. You definitely had your work cut out for you here this evening, though, just with Brody Hays doing everything that he needed to do to put as much pressure as possible. What was your mindset going through the evening? Were you just approaching it like it was any other race? Or did you go in kind of with a mindset of, let's just try to keep the 37 in sight, and as long as I'm close to them, I know I'm good to go?
Yeah, I'd say that was definitely the mindset of, I'm not really going to change everything I would do week in and week out. I feel like at that point you're probably more bound to make mistakes, but I definitely didn't go at 100% at a few moments in the race where if it was any other time and it wasn't going for the championship, maybe you put the nose in there a little more, or you do something else. And I was really just trying to fight through a VSPEED sandwich. It seemed like they were all, for lack of a better term, kind of teaming up to make my life as difficult as possible and make sure Brody stayed in the lead. So thank God Eric Hutton showed up a little bit and kind of helped break that up for me. And just dirty air, clean air, and it seemed like the top line really went away later into the race, so that was really unfortunate. But yeah, we did, like you said, we did everything we needed to do with, Brody having a great race leading from start to finish and everything. We just needed to beat up there and be up front and, pray that no late race caution came out to kind of mix things up. And luckily, everybody was managed to keep it clean. And I mean, I'm sure you guys saw on the broadcast, the racing quality was great throughout the entire top five. You had all the VSPEED cars, me and Eric and Massey up there, and it was just it was a blast to drive. Just frustrating to try to pass the leader, that's for sure.
There was one point in the race where we saw you a little bit further back of Brody Hays, about the 5th or 6th position. Did that worry you at all, thinking that you might not be able to drive back through the field to keep Brody Hays in sight? And how were you able to navigate through that traffic to get back up to him and eventually laid the bumper to him? And what was your mindset coming down to those closing laps? Were you just like, I'm as close to getting the win here tonight as I have been for a few races this season, or were you just planning on ruffling some feathers for the last time this season?
No, I mean, yeah, when I got back to 6th, I knew that I had some good tires there and wasn't overly concerned. It was just a bad set of circumstances for a few corners, and was able to kind of push our way back up there to P2, P3 before the pit cycle. And I think last week it didn't get mentioned in the broadcast, but we and Brody had contact. Prior to that, I got a little bit of help, you'd say, into the corner that precipitated that contact on exit. And then this week, I think he said he tried. We talked about it afterwards. He said he tried to cross me over, and gave me a nice nudge right out of the way right after I took the lead from him. So I think I was seeing red for a little bit and was making sure that I wasn't going to wreck Brody or anything, but I wanted to make sure, say, hey, I'm tired of being run over this season. There was, multiple times this season where I was on the receiving end of contact and just, I had enough. But obviously, I didn't want to wreck him or wreck myself in that situation. So made up there, gave him the bump, and just let him know I was not happy with how I was raced at that moment, and then went back to trying to race for it clean. And he just had, clean air. Honestly, I just, no matter what I did, no matter what lane I chose, I just would cross his wake at the wrong time, unfortunately, and could never really build a big enough run. And then, at a certain point in the run, you kind of wear out your right front, and I had Keith breathing down my neck and nearly taking me out. I thought my season was over for about half a second, and luckily hung on. And just obviously congrats to Brody on the win. He had a hell of a season. I think that was at 6 or 7 wins, and pumped for my teammate Eric that he finally got back into victory lane this season and managed to have a nice top 5 points finish. So just really happy that we finished the season the way we did, and happy that we had a semi-strong field to finish the season. It's hard when you have playoffs. I know every kind of league kind of dies off a little bit towards the end of the year, but these admins do a great job of building a community in here, making things fun, and there's never really too many hard feelings at the end of the day.
Well, congrats again on just a really phenomenal season. Congrats on the championship. Definitely well earned. One of the fastest out there all season. At this point, the floor is yours. You're the champion. Who you want to thank, who you want to shout out, it's yours.
Yeah. Once again, I'll shout out all the teammates, everybody over there at Sad Boys. It's been a great year to racing with those guys. Wish they could have been here a little more often, but the Tuesday nights that everybody was here together was that's where memories are made, and we have a great time. Obviously, thanks to all the admins. I mean, these guys do a phenomenal job of recruiting, building a fun schedule. I mean, not everybody, including myself, really loved this car choice, but they really did a great job all season trying to make these cars enjoyable to drive and all of that. I think of so many past seasons where we had some really, really strong competition with, me and Adam Cabot coming down to the last race for a championship, racing, seasons with Jeff Wright and all these guys. And, VSPEED is such a strong team every year. With Seth, Brody, Keith, Chris, Ryan, I think James, all those guys. The competition up front with those guys is phenomenal. So, you're bound to get into each other here and there, and ruffle feathers, and there's no hard feelings at the end of the day. I definitely, really say race car drivers have a long memory, and they do, but you never let that try to cross over into real life. So, really happy for those guys. They'll have a great year. They they make the competition week in and week out just amazing. And obviously everybody else in the field, Dennis Faircloth for the amazing paint schemes that he throws together for me every year. And, it's usually last minute. I usually hit him up the day before. I'm like, hey, can you throw something together? So shout out to him. Shout out to you guys in VSPEED. This is a great thing you guys have going. And it's pretty enjoyable to go back and hear from you guys or Adam or Connor Horn, or I know there's other broadcasters I don't have the top of my head, but just shout out to everybody over there, and obviously all the league sponsors, Florida Skin Doctor, all the other ones. I'm sorry I don't have it all right in front of me, but seriously, thank you to all the sponsors that make this thing go around. It wouldn't be possible without everybody here supporting the league and you guys taking the time in the evenings to broadcast this and make it entertaining. So truly thank you to everybody over here in this group.
Right. Well, there you have it from our champion. Congrats again, Bailey. Just absolutely amazing season. I'm sure we'll be talking to you quite a bit next season up here in the podium booth as well.
Appreciate it, guys.
And normally that would do it for our post-race interviews, but there's one more person that we want to talk to here this evening, and that is Cody Adkins, one of the admins over here at BTDY. Cody, this probably isn't the way you wanted to get up in the broadcast booth. You probably were hoping you could have got a podium somewhere along the line. But we just wanted to give you a chance to come on, kind of talk about the season from the admin perspective. First of all, I just want to say I questioned the car choice when y'all decided you were going with the ARCA car, and you all proved me wrong. That's why y'all are admins and I'm just here. You've done a great job with the setups, getting these things racier. Just, now that we've gotten to the last race of the season, kind of how do you feel about the racing as a whole that you saw out there this season?
I think this season was tough racing throughout the entire pack. Like there were races where you're battling for 15th, just hoping to keep in the pack, or track position was king this season, and the car had it wouldn't get strung out, so you couldn't save tire, couldn't lay back a little bit, catch back up. You had to be on the gas from the get-go and maintain your track position, and you had to drive like a jerk, honestly, to get anywhere this season. But I think it was good. I enjoyed it for what the car was. I think it was a good change up for us this season to get away from the Xfinity car and kind of try something new.
Well, it was definitely entertaining for the races that I got to jump up here in the booth and call. As we close out this season, is there anything that you want to talk about as far as like next season? Anything that's in the works? Are you thinking about using the ARCA car again, or maybe changing it up to something else? Just if there's any selling points that you would want to give on the next season, or just anything you want to divulge on it.
We don't have a start date yet. We're gonna start planning that after the season, which is today. We're gonna survey the crew and see what they want, because at the end of the day, it's everybody is here as a group, and their opinion matter as far as what we're doing. Schedule's gonna probably stay the same-ish. We'll move some races around and probably switch out some road courses to keep things fresh. We definitely aren't going to run trucks, if that counts. We're definitely not going there. But it might be next gen. We'll see if we go back. We haven't done that in a few years, and especially with the tire model updates on that car, might go back into that, see what is fun there. We've already been asked multiple times. I don't have an answer yet, so we'll be there shortly. But no, we're looking to keep things very similar. I feel like a lot of the guys are going to come back next season, which is good. We'll have some openings for people. We'll probably stick to the 20 race schedule with a chase again. We have some sponsorship lined up for some things next season that hopefully we can get squared in and settled out. Definitely back on VSPEED, because great partnership for us and for y'all, and we love having you guys in the rotating cast of crew that keep coming in and out, but y'all are fantastic for it.
Well, the racing and the series definitely made this really enjoyable to call. There's a lot of times that I wished I was still out there on the track after running, I think, the first 3 races of the season. But, man, it was an absolute blast to be up here in the booth, to be able to just call these races. So, thank you for all the work that y'all do and that you put into this to make everything go round. So just before we let you go, is there anybody you want to thank or shout out before we sign off here this evening?
A huge thank you to Florida Skincare Doctor, FloridaSkinDoctor.com. They came out and sponsored the series this year thanks to a little help from Ryan Gemmel. They've been huge, and we hear they love what we're doing, so we're going to try to get them back next year. CM Ceramics, Icon Apparel, I believe they should be supplying trophies to the top 3 this season, hopefully. Cully Pipe and Steel Supply, Keo, VSPEED, Duncan Water Systems, just the other BTD staff. They've been awesome as well this season, helping out and keeping us square. And everybody who turned a lap this season. I think we had 46 guys turn laps this season, and they are what keep us going and keep us here. So we should be back season 6.
All right. Well, thanks, Cody. Appreciate you coming up here and talking to us a little bit, and we'll catch you next season. Thanks again for all the work that you put into this.
Thank you guys for the broadcast. We appreciate you.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for our post-race coverage here. Man, Lucas, what an absolutely just great season that it has been here in BTDY. A lot of awesome racing. Just before we call it a season and call it a broadcast tonight, is there any final thoughts, any burning thoughts that you got that you would need to get out here this evening?
Well, the first one is, I'm pretty sure your commentator's curse is now officially been, I guess the word would be cleansed, because you picked Bailey Turner. Praise God and praise Dale for it, because you picked Bailey Turner as the championship winner, and he was able to get it done here at Homestead with a second place finish. And just what a great season with all the racers that race over here at BTDY. 46 drivers in one season is no small feat whatsoever. So a great job from Cody Atkins and all the admins over here. And the racing has been absolutely phenomenal between Iowa, Richmond, Darlington, and even here tonight. Just what a great season, and what a great job for Florida Skin Doctor to be able to come on board and sponsor this series.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It has definitely been an absolute pleasure. It's been an honor to be up here in the booth. Appreciate everyone at VSPEED trusting me to come on here and stumble over words sometimes to talk about this racing action. Lucas up here in the booth doing all of the production work, because God knows I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do it. I just get on here and talk about race cars. It definitely takes a whole team. It takes a village to get these leagues going, to get these broadcasts going, keep everything up and running. And I just can't say thank you enough to everybody that puts in all the effort, for all the work they do to keep everything going. But folks, that is going to do it for our season here in the FloridaSkinDoctor.com VSPEED BTDY series. I'm just throwing all kinds of sponsors out there. That's going to do it, though, for the coverage here for this season. So on behalf of all the admins here at BTDY, for Adam Baker and Bradley Cooper at VSPEED, our producer Lucas Lyons, and those camera angles courtesy of Dougie Beard, my name's Daniel Cunningham. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending your Tuesday evenings with us. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe for VSPEED so you won't miss a minute of any of the racing action that we've got here. And we will see you when this series fires off again. Same time, same place here on VSPEED.